Ben Johnson is reportedly extremely impressed with Rome Odunze. We're going to talk about what that means for the wideout and what the path for him is going to look like under a Ben Johnson offense. We're also going to dive into the mailbag as it is Friday. That means we hear from you guys. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Trey Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And we got a couple of updates around OTAs. We do now know where the Chicago Bears will also be holding joint practices with as well. And, we got some comments from Ben Johnson. I love how open Ben Johnson is. We heard yesterday that Ben Johnson was actually pretty impressed with Roschon Johnson, which, shapes up to be pretty well. Roschon does have some talent. I think with the injuries and things that have gone on, some people have forgotten how promising Roschon Johnson was initially when the Bears drafted him. Some even thinking that he had the opportunity to be a starting running back. Now, that changes every year as that ceiling comes down a little bit and you haven't taken over that role. But I do think with his skill set, as I said on yesterday's episode, you can definitely see Ben Johnson falling in love with him. But another player with that as well is second-year wide receiver Rome Odunze, who was drafted 9th overall in the 2024 draft after we drafted Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick. And Ben Johnson has very high praise for Rome Odunze, calling him a seasoned pro with how he approaches all aspects of football. He also believes that assistant head coach and wide receivers coach Antoine Randall and assistant receiver coach Robbie Picasso will help maximize his potential. Ben Johnson saying this: "I'm extremely impressed. To be a second-year guy, you would expect a little bit more inconsistency, and yet the way he approaches the meeting room, the walkthroughs, the on the field, the drill work is very much like a seasoned pro. Some of the best I've been around. He's still learning. I know there's a lot of information that is getting thrown his way. Coach Randall and Picasso, they're doing jobs with him right now. I think we're going to see a lot of growth from him, not just in springtime, but once we get into camp." Listen, Rome Odunze is a player that we were all excited about when the Bears got, right? To get your new quarterback as well as a new wide receiver that can grow and develop together, that's like a picture made in heaven. And with Ben Johnson and his ability to create a system based around the skill set of his players, you'd expect Ben Johnson to get the most out of a young talent like Rome Odunze. This wide receiver room has a lot to prove. And I think that sometimes can go, under talked about in the sense because, of course, people are going to naturally focus it on Caleb and the way that he needs to grow as a second-year quarterback, and that's all valid, right? And then people are also going to focus it on, the offensive line because that was where another one of the sore spots for the Bears. But this was a wide receiver crew that was frustrated last year. Keenan Allen's gone. He was actually pretty productive, per how the Bears used him. And when you look at overall how disappointing the Bears offense was, Keenan Allen was pretty productive in that. You're now looking into a spot where out of the 3 starting wide receivers, like Rome Odunze is the second most seasoned. Like you got Luther Burden there with him, and you got DJ Moore, of course, who's a veteran. Now, Olamide Zacchaeus is also going to be a guy there that's for sure, going to be able to help and, spot. I think he can even spot start if needed at times as well. But overall, this is a wide receiver core that all has something to prove. DJ Moore, who got absolutely clearly frustrated last year, and even some Bears fans had the knee-jerk kind of reaction to things, started calling him a loser and a powder and things like that. And so he's going to have something to prove this year. And I think also like DJ Moore just wants to win. And I think you're going to see that competitive spirit under him. Like he was a guy that was kind of, I think that you saw the frustration with Lugetzi. You saw the frustration with Shane Waldron. You just you see the frustration with him. He wears his emotions kind of on the sleeve like that when he feels like things are going wrong. Rome's going to come in here with a lot to prove in his second year. We talked about the report a couple of weeks ago over the chemistry issues between him and Caleb Williams, which I always just took as an offseason writer writing an article for a headline, right? And then, of course, you got Luther Burden, who is almost the perfect slot receiver on paper under Ben Johnson's in Ben Johnson's offense, he's going to be looking to prove himself. He already said he's looking to prove every team that passed up on him that how wrong they were for doing it. So, I love that Ben Johnson, because we knew that the evaluation period was going to be an important part. How he sees players fitting and not fitting into his system, because he's already talked about he wants to build the system around the players, right? But how he sees everything in the full puzzle fitting together. And that's something that we've kind of lacked on as the Chicago Bears, is having a mind offensively and a head coach that just sees the bigger picture and starts looking at how those pieces are going to fit together. So Ben Johnson now doing that, that's really good. I think that, the reevaluation of a lot of the players here is going to be important with the new coaching staff and new eyes on these guys. That's why when you hear things like the Roschon Johnson piece, right, and how, Eric Bieniemy and Declan Doyle and Ben Johnson, and how their new evaluation over a guy like Roschon, paired with hopefully Roschon staying more healthy, how he can be a weapon in this offense. And, I've said for basically since we got him, I would love to see Roschon line up as a fullback sometime. I think when you look at like us even having Kahari Blasingame the last couple of years, there's nothing that Kahari brought that Roschon can't bring at the fullback other than health. And I think so. It gets you can get creative when you want to get your playmakers on the field, and that's one thing I trust that Ben Johnson's going to do under his regime here, is that you're going to see you guys utilize maybe in a lot of different creative ways, and that's going to be the fun part of this offense. So Rome is up for a big season. I hope that he has an amazing season. I hope the chemistry between him and Caleb looks amazingly well. You've had people that ask, could Rome eventually take over as the wide receiver one? I look at it this way: I don't care who has the title of the wide receiver one, as long as the wide receivers goes out there and fixes things. Like just go out there and play well. That's the ultimate thing. I don't give a shit where you're lined up, who's technically on the depth chart. The people that get on the football field, I just want to see them succeed. I want to see them have success in this Bears uniform, and that's what it seems like Ben Johnson really is doing as well, right? Ben Johnson talked about wanting to rewrite the history of the Bears quarterback, and that, like, and you want a guy that's willing to take on that challenge, because it is a challenge. The Bears have not been viewed well since 1986. Like, that's the year I was born, bro. Like, I'm 38 years old. In those 38 years, the Bears have had some flashes, make no mistake about it. We made a Super Bowl, but it's been largely disappointing. Talking about we're going on 40 years, bro. Like, and 20 of those years have definitely been disappointing. But Ben Johnson saying this, like, I love the opportunity to come in and change the narrative. That's where great stories are written. And so we're looking to write a new chapter here, 2025 Chicago Bears, and looking forward to the future. And that's what you have in Caleb. That's what you have in Ben. That's what Ryan Poles has talked about for a while. That's what Kevin Warren has also talked about. And so when we talk about that alignment, having everybody from the front office, or from the CEO to the front office to the coaches to the players, you want everybody to have that they are welcoming the challenges and that they want to prove people wrong, not just for like a chip on the shoulder thing, but to prove people wrong via their play. Like, this ain't your old Chicago Bears, but you got to prove it. Like, all the talk is cheap. Now, I would say this: during training camp, during OTAs, that's when you want to hear all this good stuff. It should be mainly good things coming out of OTAs. If you're hearing bad things in OTAs and bad things in training camp, be prepared. The season's about to be ugly. So the fact that we're hearing the good things, that's great. I don't want to take it for granted at all, but I do want to say that, like, this is what we should be hearing right now. And let's see how the Bears are going to build off that, what they're going to do. Now, talk about building off things. The Bears have announced that they will have joint practices with the Dolphins and the Bills in August. This is an important part of training camp, I think, every time. When you have those joint practices, it allows you to look and stack yourself up against other teams. When you go up against the same people in practice day in and day out, you learn tendencies, things like that. To go when you have those joint practices, and not to make too much of them, but I do think it's an important part of the offseason to get those joint practices in and to have fun with that. The dates will be announced on a later date. They haven't necessarily been announced yet, but we do open up the preseason against the Dolphins on August 10th, and we host the Buffalo Bills the following Sunday on August 17th. So they're going to, of course, be around those dates. And like I said, I think that having joint practices is an important part of the offseason, because it regardless of the level of competition, just to get some reps in there against different faces, I think helps offer a different perspective. That offers the coaches to take a different perspective on it as well. And that's a welcome part of it. I really do look forward to it. So as the Bears continue this offseason program, we're getting closer and closer to actual football on the football field, man. August, we get games. I'm ready to see some football, bro. All this talk about everything like it's been an exciting offseason between trades, contract extensions, the draft. It's been fun. I want to make no mistake about it. It's been a very fun offseason, but I'm ready for some damn football. Are you ready for some football? Yes. The answer is yes. We're ready for some football. We're ready to see what the Chicago Bears team looks like on the football field, right? I want to see what Ben Johnson's system looks like with these players. And, we're going to hear a lot more stories before we get to the point of having football. But I'm really excited about just getting to that point, man. Getting to that point, and I think that's great. Colson Loveland already, even though he hasn't been a full participant in practices yet, he's talked about Ben Johnson. He said this. Yeah, it's been great, the relationship with Ben Johnson. I also tell people it's crazy how detailed he is. You see it. Just the precision and how he coaches and the energy he's got and what he brings to the facility. I'm a big fan of him, and he's going to be great. It's going to be good. And going to be a good relationship with Caleb Williams. He's super cool. You can definitely tell he does everything the right way, always grinding in the playbook, having walkthroughs, calling us in. So it's been great. I'm excited to get things rolling. I'm excited, too, because I'm ready to get things rolling because I'm tired of these dumbass writers. I'm tired of these stupid writers trying to come up with headlines for the Chicago Bears to piss off an already tumultuous relationship with the franchise and its fans. I'm ready for some football. But you know what everybody's ready for? The mailbag. Let's go ahead and hear from you guys on this episode. Let's dive into the mailbag. This one's from Darius.
What's happening, guys? Well, Darius from Dallas, man. I was just, came across an article about Dennis Allen that got me real excited, man, with all the talk about, Trey Hendrickson and all that. So I went back and was looking at this article, and they were talking about in 2020 when, Dennis Allen had, Trey Hendrickson, and the defense was very much an attacking defense, and that's one of the things that, like with Eberflus, that was so frustrating for all of us is that conservative bullshit. We weren't generating pressure, we weren't being aggressive, we were letting the offense kind of dictate us. And that's one thing what this article was talking about was back in 2020 when they had Trey Hendrickson with the Saints. Allen's defense blitzed, 31.8%. That's pretty high, man. I can't remember the last time we were ever blitzing that much as a team. And they ended up having a top 6 finish in quarterback pressures with 26.3%. They had 44 sacks and 26 turnovers. And of those 44 sacks, only 7.5 of them came from blitzers. So he's generating pressure with the front four and getting there for sure, but he's also sending guys, blitzing and all that type of stuff. And I'm just thinking, man, with Trey Hendrickson, being back under that defensive scheme with Allen, if we can get back to generating that sort of pressure, I know like a lot of people were kind of down on Dennis Allen from like his last couple years with Sean Payton, but I think that. Dennis Allen, just around that time, man, his defense was getting old. He had a lot of guys that were old, a lot of old guys on that defense. And he ended up having to just dial it back, and not go as hard. He didn't blitz as much. He ended up, having to be a little bit more conservative that year. So I don't think we can go based off of the defense that Allen had before he left the Saints, because that was an aging defense that didn't have nearly as much talent or as much youth as we have. And that's why he went after guys, I believe, like a Ruben Hippolyte, because that guy lives in the backfield. And that's exactly what Allen wants to do. Man, I'm super excited, dude, about whoever whatever our starting lineup ends up being on defense. I just feel like after, taking a look at this article and actually looking at the numbers from Dennis Allen's defenses, man, it's going to be a high, heavy attacking defense, and we're going to generate a lot of pressure, so I'm just excited about that, man. I think we're guaranteed to have a top 10 unit overall. That's my personal opinion, man. But let me know what y'all think. Text us up, bear down.
Yeah, I think the Bears are going to more than double the amount of the percentage of blitzes that we had over last year. So when you look under Dennis Allen, under Matt Eberflus, this is going to be a team that I think is going to blitz a lot more, and that's going to create more opportunities. But it's not just about blitzing. It's about how you blitz, right? And that's the schematic thing that I'm really excited to see under Dennis Allen, because he's going to be bringing Kyler Gordon, right? He's going to have the 2 linebacker sets. He's going to be probably bringing a little bit of Terrell Smith in there as well. Like he's going to get creative. Zay Frazier is going to have an opportunity also. I think the speed of Ruben Hippolyte's going to be used there. So we're going to be blitzing a lot more. And I think that's going to free up even some more pressure from the front four, that it's not just down to them to get pressure on the quarterback. And so I'm not even going to build it just around Trey Hendrickson. Of course, if you get Trey Hendrickson, that helps tremendously in that one. But I think overall, just the schematic part of it is you're going to see not just more blitzes, but more creative blitzes. And I think how you use the zone paired with man, how you show blitz, like Dennis Allen is a savant when it comes down to that. I said it before. He's just as creative defensively as what Ben Johnson is offensively. And that's where you're going to start seeing the step-ups from the defensive line and the linebacking crew and all that type of stuff. This is going to be a fun defense to watch. I have no doubt about it. And I'm really excited to get to that, Darius. So we'll see what that brings. All right, let's get into the next one, man. This one's from Keys.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Keys on this lovely Tuesday afternoon, man. With that, let's get it. As you know, the news has came out that we extended Joe Thuney. I really love that move because now it's not about we knew it was going to get done. One thing that I don't do is question Ryan Poles and the efforts of extending guys that he's gotten from other teams. He knows are going to be a contribution, unless it's like Keenan Allen. That's the one anomaly that I've seen where he's traded for somebody and hasn't extended them. Okay, but Joe Thuney is a veteran presence who we're going to have. I think he's only 33. So now you look at it, he goes from being on 1 year left. Now he's got 3 years, right? And to be honest with you, the money that we paid him was actually kind of a steal. And everything is lining up with the extension of all the guys we've gotten, Gordon, Dale. You think of them all, even the ones we got in-house like TJ and now Thuney and Jonah Jackson and all of that. One, it shows that they're spending the money. It's going to be pennies on the dollars because when we pay Caleb, if he does what he's supposed to do, it's going to be ugly for the rest of the league. And as far as Caleb Williams and the way I'm looking at it, dog, there is no excuses. There is no passes that we're going to give you, per se. You have everything at your hands. Now it's time for you to take all of that energy, take all of that shit that they said in the media that's coming out, get your ass to work, get up in the grind, do what you got to do. Make sure that your receivers is on the same page as you, bro, and that you on the same page as the coach. Everything is aligned where it needs to be, and play like the player that you were predicted to be. Get up in there and just take over, man. Because I know you got the talent. We all see the talent, bro. Ain't no excuse. You could be the guy who get the first maybe $1 billion contract if Patrick Mahomes don't go get it. You know what I'm saying? Everything is there for you, though. The defense is set up perfect. Your offense is set up perfect. It's going to be sometimes it's going to get tough, but we ain't got no excuse. And this city ready to win, and you said, hey, do you want to win it? Bro, it's time to show the fuck up. Be that player that we want you to be, and let's go, man. I'm expecting it all. The 4,000, 30 touchdowns, all that, I'm expecting it. But let me know what you think. As always, shout y'all up, bear down.
The Joe Thuney extension was good. I think it's a really quality extension. I think it makes sense. And to your point, Ryan Poles is good about trading for veterans and making sure that he maximizes on the assets by extending those veterans and getting more. Of course, it didn't happen with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen don't even got a job right now, last I checked it. So that ended up working out for the Bears' favor. And I think, too, a lot of the players that the Bears don't give extensions to, even if they traded for him or whatever else, not a lot of those guys go on and have success. So say what you will about Ryan Poles and some of his blind spots as a GM, because they are there. But I do think that the contract aspect of it and how he structures those, you see a level of detail and intention that's why the Bears have always maintained some cap space. So I think that's a thing to look at there as well. So, you know, Ryan Poles has been really good about that. Now, as far as no excuses for Caleb, yeah, I mean, listen, you got an upgraded offensive line, you got upgraded weapons, you got better play callers. Declan Doyle, Eric Bieniemy, Ben Johnson, you got all of that. We know Ben Johnson's going to be the one calling plays. So you have all of that, and that's all really good. Now, there are going to be some reasons, right? And like I said, I don't want anybody to have crazy expectations for Caleb to come in and be flawless. He's not. He's still going to have growing pains. He's still going to have things he needs to grow through. But, yeah, the Bears have done a really good job at eliminating a lot of the questions and being able to put Caleb in a position to be successful, for sure. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Ant.
Hey, yo, what up, fellas? Your boy Ant. Calling in because, I finally read the article about Caleb Williams not wanting to come to Chicago and everything. I want to have my thoughts on it. But to be honest, my thoughts ain't changed from before he was drafted, because we heard that before he was drafted that he didn't want to come to Chicago. And like I said, I was a Justin Fields fan. I didn't want them to trade Justin Fields, but at the same time, I was under the same impression, like, if I'm a quarterback, I don't want to go to Chicago. Why? Who there was going to develop me? Because we didn't have an O-line coach that developed people. Don't know about the QB coach. What was he doing? You know what I mean? Like, they couldn't develop Trubisky. They couldn't develop Justin. And I don't think the development was more so on the coaches not doing their job all the way. But at the same time, them being able to be protected. Them two quarterbacks probably see ghosts now because they got hit so much. I don't blame Caleb for not wanting to come to Chicago. But reading the article, I'm just going through, it's not Caleb doing anything. When Caleb got approached by the Vikings, that's so tempting. They got already set coaches. They got already set superstar wide receivers and tight ends. And they teams winning 13, 14, 15 games every season for the last 3-4 years. Yeah, I want to go there. Let me go there. But at the same time, after talking with the Bears, he was just like, oh, no, screw Minnesota, like Chicago, where I want to be at. So pre-draft stuff don't matter because it's hearsay. But once you start meeting with teams, if he would have met with the Bears and then be like, yeah, I'm definitely not in on Chicago, that's a whole different ball game. After he met with Ron Poles and everybody, he's just like, yes, I definitely want to come to Chicago. And that was meeting with Eberflus. So that says a lot. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my thoughts on that, because it is what it is. And then the stadium, you know what I'm saying, the Arlington Heights field, I think Kevin Warren is a smart businessman, because there's no way I believe in my heart that he did not want to stay on the riverfront. He just sold it so well that he wants to stay on the riverfront. This way he can negotiate and get Arlington Heights to the table, because they was not in on it. But when they heard what Chicago was doing and everything they was able to get to and all this stuff, now Arlington Heights want to be like, whoa, you already got property over here. We need to, you know what I'm saying, woo. And he was like, yeah, but you guys did this X, Y, and Z, so we going to stay over here with Chicago and do, you know what I'm saying, woo out the bam. And then Arlington Heights was like, okay, we'll you know what I'm saying, we'll do this stuff. That man's smart. That was a great business move. So I think Kevin Warren did what he needed to, and that new stadium and that whole area.
Yeah, the Caleb report shouldn't have changed anything. I think that, you have the weird people. Like, there's some guy on this channel that you must trade Wrigley Fields. It's like, bro, you think that, like, you came up with that one joke and you think it's funny and you actually look like an idiot. But outside of that, of course, you have the people that have their doubts, and things like that. Like, they already have their doubts, and I don't think that report did anything for it. But like you said, by the end of it, the fact that he came away with his meaning. It's like, no, I could be the one to turn this around. Good. Now go out there and do it, right? And that's all it comes down to. I think, in fairness, like, if I was a quarterback, I would have had some big trepidation about coming to the Chicago Bears. I just would have, because of what the Bears and the history that's there with the Chicago Bears. You can't ignore. To ignore history makes you an idiot. So you can't ignore that. But history can change, and you could be a part of that change of the history for the Bears. And hopefully Caleb takes that as a badge of honor. Now let's go out there and change some narratives. That's all I got to say on that. As far as the Arlington Heights thing, yeah, I do think that that Kevin Warren knew that he was kind of playing the city against Arlington Heights. The pivot to Arlington Heights and the stadium being there, it always made the most sense for the franchise. And so I think that that's going to be the thing. I just want them to go ahead and break ground. Let's just lock it in, move forward, so we can stop talking about where the stadium is going to be and start actually, because all this time of fighting over and not deciding on where the stadium is going to be leads it further and further to the actual stadium being built and us ready to go. I want to be in that new stadium. I want to see a playoff game in that new. I already said it. Day one, opening day, I'm going to be at the game. I'm going to be there at the new stadium when it opens. I'm not going to miss that. But let's go. We can't get to that if we're not breaking ground. Let's get to it. All right, let's get into the last voicemail, man. This one's from Thad.
Hey, what's up? Hey, Steve-O Bobby, man. Look, man, I just want to call back in, and I think I got disconnected. But okay, so instead of Trey Hendrickson, I'm going to just go through this list, man. Let's try to get Micah Parsons. If we can't get him, that's too expensive, then let's try to get Matt Judon, man, or Zadarius Smith or Von Miller. I mean, I'm sure they could come with a little cheaper option, but that will be a good option, I think. And I still think that running back room, man, I know that, that's been a topic, man, but I sure would like Chubb, but if we can't get that Akers or Jamal Williams, because, running backs get hurt, and I understand we got some young guys, man, but we got some proven vets out here, man, that could take it, man. I don't know what y'all think, man. I mean, Michael Parsons would be my first pick over Trey Hendrickson. I mean, that's just my thought. And then Matt Judon, man. I mean, we can't forget about him, man. He a beast. I understand he's up in age, but he could teach, man. He could teach all these other boys, man. Zadarius Smith, he used to play for the Lions, so I'm sure, everybody familiar with him. And Von Miller, he's a dog as well, man. Even though he's kind of old, but we got to remember that's like an extra coach that's playing, a player's coach, man. And that's my thought, man. I just want my team, the Bears, man, just to dominate, man. I want that defense, man, to put pressure, because, man, pressure, man, that's what we are, man. We from Chicago, man. So everything, man, we like to hurt people, man. We don't want somebody coming into our town partying and all that shit, man. We want to kick ass, man, every time, man. But that's my thought, man. All right, this is Thaddeus, man. I'm out. All right, peace.
Micah Parsons, Matthew Judon, listen, they're pipe dreams at this point. Like, if the Bears can go out and get them, great. But I'm not hanging and hitching everything on going out there and getting it. You got to be great without it. Those guys are both going to take a lot to get if you can. And so it's not as simple as walking to the store saying, let me get one of the Micah Parsons off that shelf. Bet, now we got that on our team, right? So you got to still build it. And, if those guys, if you're in a position to be able to add with those guys or Trey Hendrickson and it makes sense for your team, great. But you got to still have a team because they're not going to come in and save your team single-handedly if you don't have anything else. You got to develop. You got to grow things. And I think the Bears are going to really take that hard look at evaluation over what they have here, and we'll get it done. That's it. That's when it comes down to it. I'm not saying I'm not going to hinge everything on getting one of those guys because I don't think it's going to happen. I think that this Bears coaching staff wants to see what they have here. I think that the guys that have gone out and they have confidence in, and they want to see how they're going to come in here and perform. And I think that's the best place to be in. And then after that, after training camp and things like that, let's see where we stand at. I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot personally, but it's up to the players, up to the coaching staff to get us there. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Chi-Town up, Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.